Thousands of investors have come to trust Wesleyan Investment Foundation as their faith-based savings organization. Our interest rates are competitive and are often higher than similar accounts at other financial institutions. Interest accrues daily and is evaluated and compounded semi-annually. You can invest your earnings back into your account or have them paid directly to you. A regular savings account can be opened with as little as $25, and you can withdraw funds at any time without penalty or fees. Ready to get started? Call our office or go online to wifonline.com to request a savings packet to complete, sign, and return to us. And that's it. Once your account is created, you can access it online and keep track of how your savings are growing in real time and over time. You can also transfer funds into and out of your savings account free of charge via electronic funds transfer. We keep things simple, easy, and worry-free, which means we're not just your faith-based choice, we're an all-around smart choice for your future. Wesleyan Investment Foundation, serving higher interests.
He wouldn't be here.
Welcome back to the WesLife Webcast. We are joined now by Dr. Jim Dunn, who we spoke to the other night in his time with the Department of Church Multiplication and Discipleship. But you're here today as a representative of our premier sponsor, Wesleyan Investment Foundation, who this would not be possible without them. So thank you so much for doing this for us, doing this for the church. But talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing with Wesleyan Investment Foundation.
Excellent. Pleasure to be here and with all of you. I have 2 more hours to be the executive director of church multiplication and discipleship for the Wesleyan Church. But about a year ago, was in deep prayer, intense prayer about what I was supposed to do in the next season of life. And I've only had this sense a couple of times in my life, and so it was a big deal. I spent a year praying.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of that, with about 3 months left in that year, I just happened to mention that to my brother, who's the CEO of WIF. And the weird thing about all of this is our family hates nepotism, hates it. So
right.
I'm on camera, hate it. And if my parents are watching, they're just, yeah, we do. That's true. So regardless, I told him that the calling on my life was to help pastors and churches, and it always has been. So I knew there was ministry involved. I knew there was even youth ministry involved. I'm really not a youth guy. If you want to put all of that into perspective, I still tuck in my shirts and all that stuff. So haven't really spiked my hair too much or worn any hair on the bottom of my chin. I've never asked for a job yet. I will soon when I'm a has-been. But regardless, the third wave of that calling was to be engaged with helping pastors and churches, and I knew that when I was 12 years old. So people laughed at me sometimes, and other times there were people that said, just do what God's told you to do. So that's what I'm doing, and it engages pastors and churches. A lot of people ask me, hey, it's Wesleyan Investment, why are you going to work for a bank?
Yeah.
And why didn't you consider other things that people wanted you to do? There's always somebody that has a wonderful plan for your life, and more than your mom.
Yeah.
But anyway, here I am, and expressing this deep love for local church and pastors, and I've always tried to lead that way and drive the ministries even from the home office to the local church. And essentially, I'm not going to be on the money side of the ministry of Wesleyan Investment Foundation. I'm going to be on the local church and pastor side, helping them hopefully not having all the answers.
Right.
You know that.
Right.
Tony doesn't know that yet, so don't tell him that. But anyway, just being on this side of a pastor and a board and a church and trying to help them figure out how to get to the next level of ministry effectiveness for the kingdom of Christ in their community. That's it. And so WIF is taking care of all of the expense to do that. Or I should say, they truly are being the Wesleyan Investment Foundation.
Yeah.
And so they've been able to be in a position of giving back, and they do that in various ways. This one is very tangible to helping churches and pastors figure out what they're doing, knowing I don't have the answers. I really believe the answer's in the room, and facilitating that, using all the experience that God's allowed me to have and being in various churches, sizes, districts, regions, contexts, ethnicities. All of that put together is the opportunity for me to be in a sweet laser-focused wheelhouse for the kingdom of Christ. And so, yep, you're right. It is something where a couple of brothers are working together. And I've told people for years that Craig is, his name starts with a C, so that stands for cash, okay? And then my name starts with J, and so that stands for Jesus, all right? So just it all goes together. And you know what? Church financing is part of church health.
Right.
And figuring out how to budget and being good stewards and making sure that you're building right. And so one way that I put some of this is working with local church pastors and churches directly, one-on-one, being able to invest in them and hopefully help them to become more effective in how they do ministry and what they're focused on. And it really is something that hopefully will continue to build the kingdom. And there is no string attached.
Right.
All of my fees are paid for by the investment of Wesleyan Investment Foundation. Nice. And every church is eligible to be in this. I'm not Superman. I'm not Joanne Lyon. And so I can't help everybody. But there will be others that perhaps join this team eventually. Yeah. We don't know all of that. It's just starting. Okay. And it's something where there will be a limited number of churches that I can get to and spend time with and do consultations and evaluations. But at the same time, we're asking those churches to then invest in other churches in coordination with their district superintendent. And hopefully that'll be bottom up instead of top down. We can't force a whole lot of this. We want reproduction to come out of this and multiplying churches because you've been helped, which you consider at certain benchmarks to plant a church. And it really is just coming along in Wesleyan Investment, making it a holistic approach. Because let me give you this scenario. Let's say a church is delayed for a loan. WIF can't say yes to every church.
Right.
Some churches think that they need a building to be more effective. That's not always the case.
Right.
And so what if they need to strengthen their leadership development? What if they need to strengthen their strategies? What if they need to strengthen their outreach? What if their finances make no sense for them to be stable enough to get a loan? All of that combined, I can come in the day after you're delayed for a loan and say, man, you're not having a good day.
Right.
Would you like to talk about ministry and perhaps with God's help becoming more stable, getting stronger, and eventually being in a place where if it is that you need to expand your facility and be a part of some other opportunity in your community, then let's get you ready for that. Yeah. And we need God's help. It's not something, it's a 1, 2, 3 silver bullet.
Yeah, it's great.
Right.
So all of that combined, that is next level ministry under the umbrella of Wesleyan Investment Foundation.
Wow.
Jim, this is such an interesting time for pastors because everything is saying that the pastorate is changing, and the pastor who's pastoring today is called to just deal with many other things that they haven't had to deal with in other generations. What do you see kind of as maybe some of the things that are the top things that are just kind of confronting and pushing at pastors who are pastoring in 2016 versus, say, 50 years ago?
Yeah, I love this question, and I didn't even get the question beforehand. Heath, you ready?
That's right.
All right. I think that pastors are being asked to do, churches are being asked to do way too much. And having been somebody who's at the executive level at Wesleyan headquarters, I used to ask our CMAD staff a lot, is this going to help the local church, or is this just another thing for them to do?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's not a criticism of anybody in the past, but the reality is when we understand our contextualized vision and mission that God has given us as a church for this community to reach them for Christ, we probably need to stop doing a lot of stuff. And I'll go ahead and dare say it. I said it when I was I'm still in office, all right? So I'll say it. You don't need to do everything that comes from somebody else saying, hey, you better do this or you're not a church. That's not true.
Right.
Anyone that's a resource kind of ministry and entity ought to be providing options that you could pick and choose from. But to say you have to do everything other than pay your USF, to say you have to do everything that comes from some other entity above you, that really isn't who we are as a Wesleyan church.
Right.
There's a hermeneutical latitude there on what you do, what you don't do.
So, Jim, write that down.
Yeah, I am.
Before you go.
I am.
Yeah, and there's a danger.
On the door.
There's a danger to that too, because it's almost a competition. And
that's right.
If I'm pastoring a church of 80 people and there's a church of 2,000,
that's right.
5 miles down the road, you're not going to do everything that church is doing. So
you shouldn't.
Just stop it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's interesting to look at that is kind of on the reverse side of competition that I talk to a lot of pastors about, you might want to look at what no church is doing in your community.
Right.
And
Beautiful.
identifying a need
Right.
that community isn't being reached with for the cause of Christ, and no other church is doing it. Instead of replicating everything that everybody else is doing, what about identifying something that is a gap?
Yeah. Hey, Jim, real quick here, let's kind of pan out and talk about WIF broadly. You and I, before you came on, talked about the size of WIF. So if WIF was a private bank, where does it rank in the United States?
Yeah, so if it was a private bank, and if I understand correctly, it's my first day on the job starting at 12:01 p.m.,
right.
So I don't want to be, misquoted and fired right within the first 30 seconds of the job. But if I understand correctly, if you looked at the financial portfolio, the liabilities of a financial institution, the cash on hand, the strength of all of the assets of that entity, that bank, that financial institution. You also look at the number of employees that are there and, their expenses to do business, their fee, all this stuff. Look at the whole package. I'm told that it's in the upper 90s percentile, above 95 percentile on all that secular analysis, looking at the Ministry of Wesleyan Investment Foundation. They would be 95% or stronger than any bank in the world.
Yeah. I had heard this. I didn't know that. I didn't have the exact numbers, but I knew it was somewhere like that.
Yeah.
The strength of WIF. One of the things that we've been pumping with every person that's come from WIF is people need to know that you do more than just give loans to churches. People can have their own private account at WIF.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had an account. I don't even know what the criteria are anymore. For Heath, it's like $50,000 to start an account. But I think it's
I think $25 you can open an account.
$25. I think it's still the case.
Yeah.
And I had savings from lawn mowing and whatever when I refereed and umpired as a kid, and started putting that in there. Did the same thing for my own children. And they can do all the things that your bank can do with automatic transfers, electronic things.
Yep.
I just sent an email last night at about midnight and put in an order financially to Wesleyan Investment Foundation for my account to switch some money between savings and WIF and personal checking account in a secular bank in my community. And that order will be received today.
Yeah.
I sent it by email last night at midnight. It'll be received today, and it will be transacted by tomorrow morning.
And better than any CD that you're going to go out there and buy, and there's an investment here that's beyond any bank.
Absolutely. Right now it's paying about 20 times what you can get on any kind of savings account.
Yep.
And the economy's, we're still recovering from 2008, so the interest rate aren't near what they used to be. But 20 times, and here's the deal. You know that you're investing in kingdom ministry ideals and processes and ministries that churches, the universities, when a church buys land, they buy parsonages. There's all kinds of opportunities to not only earn 20 times what you'd earn in a secular bank. But you know that they'll never invest in the bar on the corner or some other business that you have no clue what their product is. This is all kingdom stuff. And the beauty about this is that I've known Wesleyan Investment since 1975, when my father moved our family from Tucson, Arizona. He was the district superintendent of the Arizona-New Mexico district. He was involved in church planting. It was a pioneer district back in the day. Today it's a developing district, if it was still that status. It's not.
Yeah.
But a pioneer district is what they called it. He was involved. He had a real estate license. He built churches physically. He taught us how to sling drywall mud as kids to help build. And I remember dumping a whole wheelbarrow of mud in Tucson. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. And all of this stuff combined, they saw the gifts in him, which actually started in the church extension office, or evangelism and church growth, or today, which is now church multiplication and discipleship, crazy circle of life. Yeah. He started that. Well, he didn't actually start it. Actually, Virgil Mitchell had the vision for this, right? And when my father went in there, it was worth a bit, but not near what it's worth today. Kept working and working.
They started out with $50,000, I think, was the original, that Virgil Mitchell's whole proposal.
That's right. That's right. So I've known this since I was about 9 years old, and never dreamt that there would be an opportunity on the ministry side. You know, I'm the Jesus guy, right? And so coming alongside a church and helping them look at their discipleship pathway, which has been a big discussion here at General Conference.
Yes.
We have, in spiritual formation, I don't know if people remember, but the head, the heart, the hand, and habits that Dr. Schmidt referred to a little bit today. It is more than putting information in. It's about God changing our hearts and that showing up on our hands. And then the behaviors that were talked about with the special directives or the guides for holy living. All of those things, that's behavior. And we don't believe in modification. We believe in whole transformation.
Amen. Wow.
And so one of the ways that I'm looking at this new role actually is not that they haven't done ministry before. There's a lot of ministry care that WIF has given to churches for decades now.
Right.
But to just kind of shore up that holistic approach of what a local church looks like, it is much, much more than money. And people know, I hope they know, money doesn't fix everything.
Right.
Money fixes very little, actually.
Yeah.
And we've got to be on mission. We've got to be on purpose. We've got to develop people around us. We've got to appreciate our lay people. And this is the privilege that I get to do. And you guys are all smiling at me because you're like, how can I do that? I'd like to do that.
We're smiling because we're trying to get a free shirt.
Well, I just got this one. I feel like I'm on a junior high basketball team. You know, the coach gave me a jersey this morning and said, hey, would you put this on? And really looking forward to it.
So how can people, if somebody's watching this and they want to get in contact with you and become a part of this next level ministry, how can they do that?
They can do it by simply getting a hold of WIF.
Okay.
And they can just get online at wifonline.com, WIFonline.com. And
just revamped the website, by the way. Someone told me this. I went. It looks great.
That's right. They did. And Next Level is on there as one of the main tabs as you open up that page.
Wow.
And that'll connect a communication link to me. And I'll be following up. I expect that by about 12:30 this afternoon, as information has gone out here and promoting Next Level Ministries, we're asking God to help us serve as many churches as possible and help everybody be better for the kingdom of Jesus.
Good.
So it's WIFonline.com. You can also email info@WIFonline. Dr. Jim said, hey, click on that Next Level tab on the brand new revamped website. Again, we want to thank Dr. Jim Dunn for joining us today for his work in CMAT, and I'm excited for you in this next chapter and what God's going to do through that. Thanks again also to Wesleyan Investment Foundation, their generosity in making things like this webcast happen. So here's what I want you to do, okay? You go to that info@wifonline.com and just send a thank you, because this wouldn't be possible without their vision. And one thing that I appreciate about all the Dunns, but Craig and Jim, is their heart for the local church. That's what it's always about with them, and you can trust them. So we're getting ready. This break is getting ready to be done. We got a little more business to take care of. Don't forget, hey, we're not done yet. Stay in the chat room at wes.life. You can watch all the videos. Now, some of the videos from today, people have asked, the speech that Dr. Wayne Smith made this morning, a lot of those, the full video will be available today, but a lot of the edited videos will not be available for several days, simply because we've got to pack up, we've got to get our equipment. I see that hand, sir.
Yeah, so guess what I left on during that whole conversation? I had my microphone on. So everybody heard that the video edits, when you came and asked me, Tony, I was talking over everything happening on the conference floor.
Yes.
So my apologies for that, but everybody knows now that the full video will be available, but the edited clips, and not until I get home, I'm afraid.
That's fine.
And thank you guys for doing this. You know, my parents are at home, and my dad was emailing me Friday before anything live streamed. He said, "Hey, this button's not working. Tell somebody." I said, "Well, it's live, so it has to be live. It hasn't started yet,
We have to
Dad."
have something to stream.
Yeah.
Listen, my favorite picture, people have been taking a screenshot of how they're watching General Conference. Mark James in Pickens, South Carolina, he shows his dad. He's got it up on the big screen television. His dad, W.D. James, is sitting in a chair with his book of memorials. Yeah, it's classic.
That's great.
Yeah.
The best part about watching it at home is you get to scream out loud when you disagree with something. When you're on the floor as a delegate, you have to sit there, because a lot of times you're on camera in the background. And you're like, they can't even make any facial expressions. But thank you for what you're doing to make this available. It's important for the church.
And if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this later on, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be a lot more videos coming out from the Wesleyan Church.
Yeah,
This is an listen, there's all the clips from today. We're listen, Matthew T.G. goes in. You don't understand the time he puts in to get these individual clips available. So if you want to watch a 4-hour clip of the business sessions, listen, I highly encourage that. But if you just want to catch the snippets, Matthew T.G. goes in and does that, and he's the wizard. I mean, he just does all this amazing stuff.
There's so much coming up, too. Like, people have been asking about Heather Simple's devotional.
Yes.
That'll be a clip, a standalone clip on its own. Let's see, what else?
Wayne Schmidt's Joanne Lyons testimony last night.
Working on that one right now.
Matt Leroy. I mean, powerful stuff. It will all be
segmented out. And if you click the subscribe button, that is your way of being notified.
I think somebody mentioned the Sunday night service, and somebody was speaking there. Maybe that'll be.
No, not that one.
Not,
Hey, real quick, I know we got to go. I'll give you a second. I've seen your son Caleb hanging out with you. Who is little Jim? I mean, he's like this.
Man, do not. But you're insulting him.
No, but we'll give you some personal privilege to brag on your kids a little bit.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Caleb and Courtney are here with me. They were 9 and 8 when I was elected.
That's crazy,
so
man.
21 and 20 now. He's getting married July 16th.
Oh, wow.
Great girl. And our family loves her, and looking forward to God's call on their life and ministry. And he's got one more year at Indiana Wesleyan, and then he's probably headed to Asbury Seminary. And she's a nurse, so that traveling income goes with them, and just very grateful for him. And then Courtney's here. She'll be a sophomore at Indiana Wesleyan.
Wow.
She's training to be a physical therapist.
That's awesome.
And God's got his hand on her as well, and she just asked me about medical missions the other day.
Man.
So there's all kinds of things. But for Caleb, and ministry is A to Z, right? It's not just pastoring and missionary. I don't mean just, but I mean that it's A to Z. It's everything that we do in honor of Christ, and we've tried to emphasize that in our youth conventions. They've both been spoken to by God very clearly at our youth conventions. I was called at the age of 12 in the youth convention. You guys have heard that story. But what's amazing to me is that Caleb, as God leads him, he stays pure, follows God's call in his life, is the 7th generation minister in our legacy.
That's great.
And we can't arrange that.
Yeah.
Somebody made a decision a long time ago to follow Christ. It's not the golden chain that you pass down your lineage and your faith.
Yep.
It's an individual transformation, and we're just blessed to be part of the church. And you're right, Heath. and our parents taught us, and their parents taught them, and so on backwards. We love the church, and we love pastors, and we've given our lives to it, and can't think of anything else other than to quote my grandfather, it's the greatest profession in the world.
All right, our producer's speaking in our ear. I think they're ready to start.
We're heading back to the main hall.